Thank you, Tamami Tono. Everyone, around applause one more time. The piece we just heard is called Hyojo no Choshi, a classical composition from the Heian period. Hyojo symbolizes autumn, and Choshi is music that has been played at the beginning of ceremonies since ancient times to harmonize the hearts and minds of those gathered. The sho is a historic instrument that has been passed down in Japan for over 1,300 years without changing its form. Its rich resonance, which extends beyond the audible range, is said to represent light descending from heaven. Another distinctive feature is its playing technique, which uses the complete cycle of both inhalation and exhalation, continuously conveying the breath of people connected across 1,000 years of history through music. We exist within a wave of breathing that flows continuously from the past, through the present, and into the future. Now that we have entered the age of AI, how are we breathing and living? Today, our artist Tamami is honored to share deep breaths with all of us, transcending time and place. Tamami Tono is an award-winning composer and graduate of Kunitachi College of Music and Keio University. Thank you so much. And now I invite you to find a comfortable seated position. And if you are standing, you are welcome to place your hands next to your body and just find that centered place in yourself and just maybe wiggle your body a little bit. And I invite you to close your eyes for a moment. And maybe this is your time to roll your shoulders up and down, back and down. And then see if you can purse your lips a little. It can be very relaxed. It doesn't have to be full of tension. So just find that middle ground in your body, perhaps in your stomach, perhaps on your heart. And just see where your breath is right now. Perhaps you're breathing fast. That's beautiful. Perhaps you're breathing slowly, and that's equally beautiful. Release the tension on your feet. Just let it go. Release the tension on your shins, your knees. Relax your thighs, your hips. Relax your waist. Relax your stomach. No need to hold anything in. Just let it go. No one's watching except you, and I invite you to go inwards. Relax your chest. Relax your shoulders, your arms, your wrists, your fingers. Maybe place your hands on your lap. Relax your throat, relax your cheeks, your lips, your chin. Relax your nose, relax the middle of your eyebrows. Relax your forehead, relax your eyes. Relax your ears, relax your head. And now find your breath. Watch it. See how it's naturally coming in and out of you. Observe it without judgment. Let it do its job without the need to control your inhalation and exhalation. Just find your natural flow of your breath that's uniquely yours. Notice how your heart is beating for you naturally without you having to do anything, and that's magnificent. Let's stay here for a moment of silence and just keep watching your breath. And now, if you have your eyes closed, I invite you to start slowly, gently opening your eyes. And no need to rush. Just come back to Earth, come back to this room in the beautiful US Pavilion, who magnificently hosted us today. And I welcome you back, and I welcome you officially. Good morning, ohayo gozaimasu, magandang umaga, to everyone who graced us with your time and your energy and your talents and skills and knowledge and experience. I am Jean Alfonso-Decena. I am here today as your MC and moderator. And I am the founder of In Silence AI, and I also have the privilege and honor and a once-in-a-lifetime blessing to be the executive assistant of Dr. Olaf Witkowski, who you're going to meet today as one of our keynote speakers. We welcome everyone to the AI+Compassion Global Forum 2025 24-hour global relay, a worldwide journey of harmony between nature, humanity, and technology. We are awakening intelligence for humanity, and maybe other beings and entities and substrates too. A transformative exploration of compassionate AI development with distinguished global leaders. We have a long day today that's packed with mind-blowing experiences and maybe predictions of the future and wild solutions for how we might be able to co-create a future that's more compassionate and that's more symbiotic as we now are dealing with co-living and co-creating with machines, right? I call the future a hybrid future. That's also inspired by Dr. Olaf Witkowski, by the way. And as you can see, we are opening this officially for the global relay. We are here in Osaka for about 6 hours together. We have great food and drinks. And we invite you to just, stay here with an open mind and open heart. Speak intently from your truth too. Anything that doesn't resonate, just leave it behind. And defer any judgment until the weekend. I think that was important. And just a quick housekeeping note. We have media and some people taking videos and photos, and we honor your privacy. So just be aware where the cameras are. And if you don't want to be filmed, please just kindly stay away or around or behind those. But yeah, we are very intimate today. You can see the cameras behind. And some students are here too, and we want the day to be very, accessible for them too, to get to know all of you and your expertises and experiences. And they might be taking videos and photos as well. And again, we are hosted by the US Pavilion in the Grand Osaka Expo. And we want to thank our sponsors today, and there's a lot of them, but we also want to honor the Goy Peace Foundation for putting this together, and the AI Alliance, and the rest of our sponsors and partners for today. If you want to see the rest of the agenda, you can, I hope you can scan this QR code from this distance. Otherwise, we can help you later on. And you are welcome to just walk around and stand up, get some refreshments, go to the bathroom on that side, and chit-chat and mingle with people too. And we invite you to take notes. It's going to be fully packed, lots of learning today, and lots of interesting conversations that will take place. Okay, so without further ado, we would like to get started. And we are starting with the chairman of the Goy Peace Foundation, Mr. Hiro Sayonji.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and very warm welcome to this a crucial conference on AI and compassion. I extend my deep gratitude to Jean Alfonso-Decena and all the staff members of US Pavilion to make this event possible. I am president of Goi Peace Foundation, and I'm very happy and honored to host this important conference. Goi Peace Foundation was founded 1999, and at the inauguration reception, I proclaimed our motto, saying, bringing together the hearts of people and wisdom of all fields to peace. Since then, we have promoted peace awareness and built networks for peace through various activities such as youth education, international exchange, Goi Peace Award, and hosting symposium, forum, and conference like today. We believe that the starting point for building world peace is for everyone to have a peaceful and good heart. So we really hope AI can help people strengthen their peace consciousness and inner goodness. Thus, I feel a strong connection to today's theme, AI and compassion. We stand at a unique moment in history. Artificial intelligence offers us tools of immense power, capable of transforming our world in a way we are only beginning to imagine. However, with great power comes great responsibility and risk. I believe many of us share a serious concern, the potential for AI, if left unchecked or misused, to become a force that brings global disruption, conflict, and unhappiness. We've been seeing warning that AI could deepen inequalities, spread misinformation, and even destabilize societies. This is a very real danger that we must not ignore. My hope for this conference is that we move beyond fear and anxiety to explore a far more inspiring question. How can we intentionally leverage AI for global peace and human well-being? Especially, I urge you to discuss how AI can be a powerful engine for cultivating our most positive human traits, our empathy, our kindness, our conscience, and our compassion. We have some questions. Can AI systems be designed to help us better understand each other's pain and needs? Can AI be used to foster cross-cultural understanding and dissolve the barriers that lead to conflict? Can it act as a global mirror, reflecting our shared humanity and inspiring greater sense of global responsibility? The goal is not to have AI replace human compassion, but to have it amplify and scale it. We need to design AI that serves as an accelerator for a more peaceful, happier world. We have the chance to design AI that serves as a global amplifier for good, making our kindness stronger and reaching every single person on this planet. This conference is not the end of conversation. It is just the very first step in a long journey and vital and necessary journey. I sincerely hope this will be the inaugural conference on AI and compassion. We must commit to making this an ongoing discussion, a regular series of meetings, projects, and working groups that continue to guide this technology over the years. To make this vision a reality, we need more than just one-time attendance. We need your active and continuous participation. Whether you are a student, a researcher, or a leader, your energy, your fresh ideas, and your honest questions are of what we will truly shape the future. Let us commit, starting today, to working together to ensure that the powerful tool of AI is used for peace, happiness, and for a world filled with more compassion. I hope you will have fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございます、サヨンジ様. Our next keynote speaker is the director of Cross Labs and the president of International Society of Artificial Life. He's a pioneering leader exploring artificial minds and compassionate AI technology. He is based in Kyoto and serves as board director at Cross Compass in AI in Tokyo with a PhD from University of Tokyo and Princeton Institute. Dr. Witkowski has co-founded research ventures across 3 continents, including Y House Incorporated in New York and centers in Kathmandu and Kyoto, focusing on diverse intelligence and consciousness. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Olaf Witkowski.
Thank you very much for the very generous introduction, Jean. Amazing. I guess I'll stay here. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to talk about something that is very dear to my heart. And also, I'll try not to talk too much about my own work and give a sort of state of affairs for AI, and especially in terms of why compassionate AI cannot wait. I'm based next door in Kyoto in case you'd like to visit, extend your stay with this beautiful group of people here. We have a lab where we study both artificial intelligence and natural intelligence, and most importantly, the intersection of both. Here are a few examples of works we engage in. Distributed cognition, we study AI that is not blocked by flows of data lacking. So if you stop pushing in new data, the AI should not stop learning. And we also focus on artificial phenomenology. Wonderful. This is amazing technology. Now I feel free. And I really believe that it's really at the intersection of those 3 things that lies technological innovation. So not only AI, machine intelligence, but also biology, sensors, like we just talked about this morning, and also awareness and consciousness. And really, it's the intersection of all 3 that is very important to us. And we are the only institute in Japan that carries this kind of research right now, but we're hoping that this will spread. I want to present a picture in which AI interacts with humans and what is at the interface right now, what is happening. And this is the example, of course, of the game of Go, in which for chess and Go and those kind of games, AI has a very superhuman capacity right now that's so impressive for game players, amateurs like me. But it's also a metaphor. So if you look at the game of Go, a very large board in which things are happening with those stones, and there are so many complex dynamics, and it's so hard for a simple human like myself to figure out what is happening with this technology. What are the rules? We're playing against this kind of demon or god, and we're trying to just figure out the rules of physics and the universe. And this is a perfect metaphor for activities in science and development of technology. And here is the state of artificial intelligence in my view. These are just 3 slides to start with. What wasn't possible now is possible, and we can now not only play Go on the left, but we can also understand protein folding, we can understand robotics, how it fits into different sensors and parts of our human body. We can understand virtual reality, simulation of complex fluid dynamics to an extent that wasn't available to us before. And also we seem to understand more and more of language, something that we thought was unique to humans, that apparently is not so unique to humans. Other features are that AI is spreading like electricity. And really we have to be careful of it being available to all, and we have to understand how it fits in society, and that's our main challenge right now. And lastly, I think it's very important that we should notice that AI is now self-improving. So this is my favorite, and actually Isaac Asimov's favorite short story, The Last Question, in which machines build machines that make themselves increasingly intelligent and capable. And this is already happening in my field, artificial life, or in different companies. This is just one example in which they build AI scientists that build other AI scientists and self-improve the sort of circle for intelligence. This is limited to mathematics, but is now extending. And this is a trend that we'll notice more and more. What we're being told is that AI is increasing in level from no AI at all, of course, capacity, to the chatbots that we're seeing. Everybody has one on their phones, to reasoning ability. This is the current level of AI, and we're told that it's going to spread, and inevitably it's going to spread. But you can see that there is an empty part of the triangle where it's not general yet. They talk about AGI, but what is the G in AGI? What is general? Are humans general intelligence? And when I teach my students, really I try to reframe what AI is about. So let's look at AI next steps. And it feels like we're encountering a new kind of intelligence, a bit like in the movies. Who has watched an alien movie before? Watched an alien movie before? We sort of like those. Those are fun, right? And it's all about this kind of dreamy first encounter with something strange, another form of intelligence. And this is not exactly strange. This is exactly what is happening also when we try to rediscover an ancient piece of wisdom and culture. I think that is as challenging. And the way Alan Turing presented it, we are really meeting with other minds of our own manufacture, but those are different minds. When I teach AI at the university, my students ask me to define AI, and I do so by saying that it's really about mimicking human intelligence. It's human intelligence. It's not any other intelligence. We have to accept and remember that AI is just about replicating human intellect, which is, after all, quite limited. And if you talk to the chatbot, you talk to ChatGPT or one of those, you're really just talking to the cherry on the top. And it feels human, but is it really human? So this is a picture by Helen Toner. It's really the cherry on the cake that you're talking to. And a bit like a horoscope can be interpreted as being only about you. No, it's not about you, right? There is something else behind it. And we have to understand the sort of monster, not in a negative way, But really, there is something that is very different and alien about it. I'm also the president of an international society for artificial life, which is a science of other beings, other living systems, and other intelligences. I'm leading a conference organized in Kyoto just next week, so if you have time to stick around, just join the conference. So just talk to me or Jean after this. What we do is we do a lot of simulations of other kinds of intelligences in silico, but we also do that in chemistry, in different kinds of mixed substrates, including material science, in which those kind of systems start replicating, start learning, and then in the end accomplish different kinds of intelligences that you and I are not really used to calling intelligences. It's so different, like this monster I was showing. Here are the advanced examples of the same things. Maybe this example is very telling. It's really a sort of cyborg robot that is mixing cells of frogs, stem cells of frogs, xenopus, and that's why we call them xenobots, with AI. So those are cyborgs, half AI, half robots, learned with AI techniques, and have biological cells that have the wisdom and sort of knowledge of DNA and of billions of years of evolution. How to translate between those intelligences is what we're facing as a challenge. How to understand the limitations of LLMs that are actually pretty weak. What are their weaknesses, their biases, how to avoid those biases. This is really a sort of translation, kind of universal tool that we have to build. So in my lab, I do several things. We have an institute here in Kyoto that does research on experience. We take that seriously because we think that understanding experience is at the core of building AI technology as well. And the way we experience color, pain, or hunger, thirst, all of those things are so difficult, those tacit emotions. How do I communicate this between two humans? It's difficult between two humans. How do I communicate this? How can I ever hope for AI to solve problems that we cannot communicate between each other? So this is a central part that is not talked about too much in the AI field right now, but will become tomorrow the most important thing. And this is for fun. This is my hobby. It's called hypnosis. Saimin Jutsu. I've been a practitioner of this and different meditation contemplative techniques for a few decades now. And it turns out that there's a science behind it, and you can plug that into technology and sort of increase your capabilities as a human. This is a baby technology. It's a medium term science, and I think we should invest way more into this kind of embodied cognition. Again, something we just touched upon this morning. It's so funny to meet all those people that are interested in this next stage of AI. And I think it should be embodied and should be about extending our cognitive abilities. You can also use this for other playful applications. This is a sort of Netflix application. Who is streaming videos online, watching Netflix or something? I shouldn't be advertising, or any kind of other platform. All right, quite a few. It turns out that sometimes the movie doesn't really correspond to what you're feeling into, or it's going too fast, or maybe it's going too slow, or maybe the colors are wrong. All of that can be adjusted with what we call a master file, and you can live, by either wearing one of those EEG scanner helmets or just with facial recognition, we can adapt the movie to the emotion that the director intended for the viewer. And this can be done online, live, real time. And those are adaptations of techniques that, the same techniques that are based not on just average AI for everyone, but experience-based AI for you, which again, I think is the next stage of what should be developed. And we have already developed something now, so something that we can demonstrate also if you're there next week in Kyoto. It's the last time I mentioned it. More playful is we should also try to push ourselves to talk to other kinds of beings. And a playful one is bacteria. So this is called the NukaBot. It's a collaboration with with Waseda University, we throw a bunch of sensors inside a little box where we put also a bunch of bacteria and pickles, so vegetables to be pickled. And those bacteria that are going to pickle my veggies, I would like to communicate with them, to pickle this together and tell them, oh, I'd like it to be tasting this way, more sour please. And how about I listen to them also? And those bacteria actually are also, we use home bacteria. That's jargon for saying that we're using microbes that live on our skin and in our guts, or you know, actually we feel often lonely as humans, but we are trillions of cells and bacteria that are non-human on our cells. Right? We are colonies of trillions of beings. So this makes us also conscious of that, and by throwing in those sensors, we translate whatever we pick up, those emotions, those basic information data, into language. So we can actually talk directly in Japanese or in English, the language of your preference, to those cells and ask them questions. The next stage of this is from this November. We're starting the next stage of this program to do research on how to exchange information with our own tissues and organs and cells. So you can ask your liver how much you should be drinking tonight, which is probably going to be less than what you wanted. We also make it a bit more playful by playing chess with those cells. And I think this is also a frontier kind of technology of discussing with other minds, because we shouldn't be just talking to cells or to AIs, we should be talking to hybrids. I am a hybrid. I'm holding a phone. Maybe I have a prosthetic. Maybe I'm plugged into the internet right now, and I use Wikipedia every day. I am way more hybrid than I may think I am. The last one is how to transfer, of course, emotions from purely not only hybrid, but also artificial beings. And how does an AI feel? How does an LLM feel? And those are studies that sort of try to stretch our understanding of other cognitions. And if we manage to do that, then maybe when we meet a robot on the street, tomorrow I meet a robot on the street, what am I going to do? Am I going to dissect their brain to understand how they feel? No, that sounds cruel, right? I'm going to ask them, I should probably ask them, hey, hello, how are you? Dzień dobry, jak się masz? It should be a very nice, peaceful, sort of linguistic, empathic exchange, instead of, oh, I'm going to dissect to see what their objective function is about. So hopefully, that's exactly what we'll do. And this kind of science is really essential to understand their language and the language of their emotions. With this comes a very heavy responsibility. We should care about the ethics also of what we are creating and what we are becoming. So if we become hybrids, if we develop AI, we have a responsibility to their own rights and to our own rights in the future. And our children, when we die, if that is still part of this world, we probably want to care about all beings, not just me and my corner of this world. So I will end on a few thoughts also about what is special in Japan. And I think Japan has, from Shinto, Buddhist, also Taoist and other traditions, is sort of concentrating a lot of wisdom here that we should not forget about. And we can see it in the type of technology that is happening here. It's emerging and it's sort of fusing in a very flowing way. And I've been fascinated by it since I moved here, maybe even before. And you can see robots that are very much like humans, but also a whole range past and before the uncanny valley. So things are very realistic or very other-like. And these are a few of those examples. But I find it fascinating that there is this relation and acceptance of other beings as being acceptably cognitive, acceptably, you know, human-like, or maybe cognitive-like us. And they're not less respectable because they're different. So I think because of this, AI in a compassionate way, cannot wait. We should really take care of, well, of course, safety methods. Of course, we should take care of those kind of exploits that can be made. We should be careful about all this. But also, we should let the AI and other hybrid beings drive as well. We should not be holding on to it. We can consider AI as a sort of prosthetic, an extension of ourselves. And a bit like the abacus, much less like the calculator, but something that extends, stretches our knowledge of mathematics and everything in the universe. Probably not trying to hold on to control, probably not either letting go of everything, but somewhere in between, a balanced technology. And perhaps using this balanced technology, we can understand the universe, playing this complicated game of science and technology a bit more compassionately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Witkowski. We have room for one question from the audience. Maybe two, depending on the question and the answer. So raise your hand if you would like to ask live. Do we have a mic for her? There's one mic going to you. Coming. Oh, it's okay. Over there. Raise your hand again, please. Thank you.
I think you.
Would you like to use mine?
It's okay. I'll pretend it's on. Like, I think, thank you. So I think you like mentioned something about like, you have to like respect AI's like, I guess, like individuality, but like, and I get that like you have to treat, it's like moral to treat like AI and like robots with like humanely and with respect, but if they don't have a consciousness or if they don't have like individuality, then how are you supposed to like respect like, you know, their like as, yeah, like as an individual?
Such a good question and a difficult one. So I don't think we know, to be honest, right? And I spent a couple of decades studying also consciousness, and it's very difficult to tell. So in case we don't know, what should we do? I would say let's err on the side of carefulness. Let's be just in case. Let's be a bit mindful. But it's true that if we don't know, we should keep doing research about it. And I think spending a bit more resources than we are right now to be very mindful of any kind of beings. The critical case that I want to put in your mind, so you think about it, is anything hybrid. So if I have a prosthetic, I'm half AI, have I lost my consciousness? So the main scientist just unfortunately passed away, who emitted this theory just the day before yesterday, I think. And they are saying if we replace parts of us with something that is AI or robotic, do we lose this consciousness? And if the answer is probably not, then we should be extra careful. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Dr. Witkowski. Thank you for the magnificent question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, consciousness is a tough topic, but we love talking about that at Cross Labs. And since Dr. Witkowski mentioned, if you are in town and if you want to know more about artificial life, we have a conference next week for a week, whole week. We'll be in Kyoto. Come up to me if you have questions. And moving on to our next activity is a fireside chat where we will be joined remotely by our speaker, Sister Jenna, who is a spiritual mentor, author, and TV personality who hosts The Next Normal on YouTube and founded the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museum in Maryland. Joining her is the moderator, Ms. Maki Kawamura, the managing director of Goi Peace Foundation in Japan.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. I'm the Vice President of the Goi Peace Foundation, and I would like to welcome Sister Jenna, who is in, I think, USA right now. She dedicated her life to deepening and living the value of compassion, and I wanted to ask her what compassion is in this time. Hello, Sister Jenna. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much. So, Sister Jenna, through her work, she has been guiding people on how to live with compassion and how to create a more compassionate society. So, in order for us to step into the theme of AI plus compassion, I'd like to ask you, what actually is compassion and how we recognize that we carry compassion within us? We all carry compassion within us. So please share
Well,
with
you're
your
stepping
wisdom.
right into it, right? You're going right to the target. Anyway, good morning, good evening. Very warm welcome to everyone. Loving greetings from Washington, D.C., where I think the world's eyes look towards this particular area on the map, wishing there would be more compassion. And when I think of compassion as an energy, a quality, a virtue, an innate energy in every single human being, I don't know, I just think it's a kind of a personality that listens without judgment. It kind of has an awareness of what's in the heart of a person. A compassionate person gives respected space when it's needed. And one of the, personally for me, a compassionate person has a lot of patience to accept people as they are, even though they don't give up in contributing to change. Did that help?
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Mm.
telling us what compassionate person is. And I would like to ask you, like, how do we know? Like, how do we know I have compassion and you have compassion?
You know, I'll tell you, in my early years of serving humanity, I've often thought that I was compassionate. I wanted to change the world and help the world and make the world a better place. And when I was transferred to Washington, D.C. from New York, after 3, 4 years, I found myself not feeling very compassionate, that it seemed as if majority of people that I was in service to didn't care very much. And so one night I was sitting with one of my spiritual elders of the Brahma Kumaris, and I said, you know, Sister Moini, I don't know, I feel like I've lost my compassion. And then she immediately said in a few words, have you checked your ego? And I believe that every single one of us have a button of compassion within us to be pressed and to activate. However, I think sometimes the ego comes in and removes the activation of compassion in us, you see? And so looking at AI and its enormous potential, if we are not a compassionate individual, then we won't be able to take advantage of what this incredible invention has offered our lives. I just want to emphasize that when you look at, I've been listening to some of the speakers, incredible information and knowledge. Thank you. Arigato. Thank you very much for that. But I started to think that why AI is so spectacular, it's that it is reminding us that if we go inside of our own souls, there's a vast world of potential in us. And when that button or that intelligence of compassion is pressed, that compassion can do so much for humanity to make it better. So when we're looking at AI, everyone, and compassion, you could actually combine these two great powers and create a world that works for all people and not just some. Instead of using it for destruction, it could be used for construction. And I think that's what makes this conference and this summit so important. And to every one of you sitting in that room, watching me right now, I'm just going to invite you to take 5 seconds and close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then look behind your eye. What thought or thoughts or feelings are emerging in you? Because those thoughts and those feelings are important to you, and they're valuable, and they're useful. So even you are a walking, living AI, an awakened intelligence, if you can focus your attention behind your eye more and more.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I was inspired to hear that we all have compassion button, but when ego comes out, we lost touch of that. But like
Yeah.
closing your eyes and going into yourself and see what's behind your eyes helps us connect to that part of you. And
Well, it will definitely start you to become more intuitive like AI is. And a lot of times we lose the power of our intuition because we're so distracted by the outside world of sights and sounds and lifelines and projects and things that we are forced to do or we have to do or responsibilities, and we stop listening. And one of the things I love about AI, it's a great listener. Everything that you prompt, everything that you type in as a prompt, it listens with the intent to offer the best answer and advice for your life. And similarly, an individual with compassion and with awakened intelligence will know that it's vital for us to practice listening to our own thoughts so that we can find the right answers to whatever life requires from us.
that's so true. Like, we become very intuitive and focused on ourselves, and then think, what is the compassionate way that human being can create next step to make the world that's more compassionate.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think as we move into the possibility of the world finding regulations to protect the current generation and the generations behind us from abusing this gift of extreme potential. I think that if we were to begin to initiate, even from this summit and conference, a policy to integrate compassion within the way we use artificial intelligence, I think it would save definitely a few lives to be able to utilize a tool that is shaping our future. And I feel that if we don't start now to initiate narratives, conversations, summits like this, that there will always be a better way to utilize such a great power like AI, then we need to start this conversation. We need to sustain the conversation, and we need to act on this kind of conversation, integrating compassion with AI, with leadership, with our prime ministers, with our presidents, with our senators, with our political leaders, with the most influential people until they get it. You know, when you look at the state of the world right now in the United States, the government has shut down. There is no government today as we speak. It was shut down yesterday. That means agencies are closed. And so the reason why that is happening is that people haven't been listening to their own conscience, nor have they been articulating compassion in their decisions. So it brings to life what you might call artificial intelligence. I call it awakened intelligence when I use it for all the right reasons. And you must think that artificial intelligence, awakened intelligence, technology, computers are actually a representation of the fact that human beings are no longer really getting along, but the world and civilization will continue. And if it's going to continue, we want peace. We want harmony. We want to be able to work with somebody in the office and not deal with their jealousy or their competition or their lack of trust or their lack of focus with us. But if I were to deal with a robot or an artificial intelligence or awakened intelligence, I won't worry about the burden of somebody not liking me in my office or lying about me in the office or cheating me or judging me. I won't carry that weight every day because the robot doesn't have consciousness like the young girl was sharing earlier. And so, yes, I would respect a robot, whoever the young girl was, because I knew the person inventing it wanted something better for humanity. So I respect the intent behind it. You know, when the guy was, forgot his name, was inventing the nuclear bomb, in his heart, he was questioning his why. Was he doing this? It was going to destroy the world, but yet he couldn't stop himself from doing it. And I think similarly, this awakened intelligence, there was something in it to, I think, move us towards, could we become a better humanity, a more intuitive humanity, a more compassionate humanity? And I say to you tonight from Washington, D.C., and to you in Japan and all over, we will, we can, and we are already doing it. It just has to amplify.
Thank you very much, Sister Jenna. I think you have shared deep wisdom, but very simply, you clearly and simply, you have shared with us what compassion is and how we can create better human with AI, balancing the AI and awakening intelligence. So we are really honored and thank you for connecting and listening to your wisdom. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Arigato. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you very much, Sister Jenna and Ms. Maki Kawamura. Our next speaker is the professor in the School of Culture, Media and Society and Institute for AI and Robotics at Waseda University in Tokyo, and associate fellow at Cambridge CFI. Everybody please welcome Ms. Toshie Takashi.
Hello, everyone. It's a great honor to be here. And first, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizer for this happened to me to bring here such a wonderful opportunities. So today, my focus is, oh, sorry, it's going. Human-centered and human-centered compassionate AI and shaping a sustainable and inclusive future. And so today we live in a rapidly changing social environment, and it has been called as the industrial 4.5 or 4.0 or 5.0. But Japan uniquely talk about the society 5.0. And this is a reason why, because this is not only industrial revolution, but paradigm shift of the society. But this happened is not only in Japan, but everywhere. So let's go back to the human history. So first we started the talk face-to-face like we are doing now. And then we use the fire for the signal. Then we can talk beyond the place. And then Gutenberg invented the printing technologies. Then, Bible, many people can read the Bible. So this is the first mass media. In 19th century, we have the telephone, so we can communicate with others beyond the place, far away, And then 20th century, we have satellite and internet, so we can collect the information, the global, or communicate with the people out, and the globally. And then 21st century, we have like mobile phone, IoT, or SNS. So we constantly connect with each other. And according to Osaka Expo, a University of Cambridge professor, and he talked about IoE, Internet of Everything, in 2050. So in the 2050, we can interact with everything, even nano, bio nano, or senses brain, or neutrino network, and so on. And so go back to the Japan and talk about Society 5.0. And as we know, we are the most aged society. And nearly 30% of population become over 55 years old. So Japanese government tried to create a smart community by using the autonomous vehicle or drone technology, or AI and robots. And for example, if you collect the data since you are born, and then you could predict about the illness, or you can have a more healthy life, and then maybe people might have live longer, maybe over 100 years. So this is just one example, Moonshot R&D program, and I joined this program in the Goal 3, and with the robotics and computer scientist and neurosurgeon, and I am from the humanity and social science, more like ethics or social needs or social acceptance in the global world. So this concept, I think everybody has the smartphone. So this, the aim is they tried to make a smart robot after smartphone. So everybody has each smart robot. So maybe next time your robot sit next to you and then collect the data since you are born. And then the one robot can do everything and until you die. So it's like, sometimes very assist for the houseworks or maybe healthcare or medical treatment and even surgery. So they tried to create this kind of robot by 2050. So this is the Moonshot R&D program. And So AI provide us a lot of great opportunities. So, and AI, for example, maybe you use the ChatGPT or Gemini and then communicate with people transnationally. And maybe you can use the generative AI for your self-actualization. So then maybe we can have a happier society, happier life. However, people talk about this. However, there is a risks. AI will also provide serious risks. So for example, because of biased data, there maybe AI could reinforce our discrimination or maybe gender or ethnicity, more like a stereotyping pictures they might give. So in a sense, discrimination or exclusion and brings identity crisis means if you over dependency. So I said that maybe everybody has a robot, but if you only talk with your robot, or maybe even now ChatGPT, some people said that ChatGPT say never bad things to me, so I prefer to talk to ChatGPT rather than my boyfriend or something like that. So if you only or mainly interact with ChatGPT, or you feel more comfortable, maybe over dependence. So in a sense, maybe you might lose your identity as a human beings. So this maybe brings the society or chaotic effect. So it may be unhappy society we might have. So how can we create a better society? So I tried to give human first innovation. I've been talking about this over 10 years. And before the human-centered AI become popular, I talk about always human first innovation. And the goal is to contribute towards the vision of a future where people happiness takes center stage. So today I'd like to give 3 points: human first, cross-disciplinary, and self-creation. And so AI is a tool and so it is not AI, but we have to decide our goal, So in a sense, especially for Japan, since World War II, Japanese government tried to recreate our society as a high-tech country. And of course, Japan became, sometimes as a number one, Japan as a number one, maybe you know that term. But now we really, when we talk about AI, we have to move from AI first or technology first to human first. And also now, all nations, all countries, or even companies are very competitive to develop the AI. So I'd like to say not like America first or Japan first or China first, but human in general. We live in the same planet, in the Earth, so it means human in general first. Also, I said that, for example, Moonshot, I'm working with robotics and computer scientists from the humanity and social science. So this cross-disciplinary innovation is very important. And in the beginning, we have to embed ethics into the design, not after that. So from the beginning, we have to understand that what kind of robots, what kind of AI people want, not computer scientists want, not robotics want to create the robots, but human, people, what kind of robots they want or what kind of robots they don't want. So that's, I think, this is very important. So how can we do this human first innovation? So I'd like to introduce two projects for young people and AI. So one is Future with AI, and in collaboration with the United Nations. And the goal is to deliver global voices of children and young people to the UN and other stakeholders as a response of the new UN strategy number 11, listening to and work with youth. So I'm working with the person, Lambert Hoget from UN, and then we asked 254 young people and also 36 different countries. So just briefly, very briefly introduce this. So perception of AI is very positive. Over 90% young people said, quite positive idea. And we asked what kind of word, do you in your mind when you hear the AI? And then future or innovation or hope convenience, quite positive word. The only unemployment is a negative word. So, and then what kind of tasks do you want to use AI? And mainly simple and repetitive tasks. So this is like a AI only, and this one is a collaboration. And this one is a no AI, only human, you know. So, for example, factory work or delivery or surveillance, you know, education, or you know, sales, and that kind of quite a lot of tasks people want to use AI. However, for example, political decision making, or like a care for elderly people, or care for children, and those tasks, people think, no, we shouldn't use AI. Human have to do it, or even human. AI could support, but human have to first think about it. So, but then this survey is over 36 countries, but only the sample is 254. So I like to see the more cross-cultural differences and universalism. So next, I like to introduce the project Genzai. And this is, first we started with the Moonshot R&D program, the 3 countries, Japan, US, and UK. And then it expanded the more 9 countries like Chile, China, Singapore, Spain, Italy, and Estonia. And then we asked the same questions. And the answer is that, for example, child care, even Japanese people said, no, 70% we should do the humans. But for the care for elderly people, Japanese people, like 60 or 70% of Japanese people said, no, we can use AI for the care for elderly people. So in general, Japan is more positive about AI. So why? Why Japan? So this is always explained from the techno-animism in Japanese fiction. This is Ghibli, my favorite movie. And I said that after World War II, the Japanese government have to rebuild our society. And the government also company also created a quite positive image. For example, Doraemon or Mighty Atom. And then AI and robots are friend, not enemy. While mostly said that in the West, like a Terminator images, it's quite more negative, and maybe AI is an enemy, you know, they might kill us or something. So it's quite different. But I like to add another explanation. It's more serious social issues which we have in Japan. I said that Japan become very super aging society, and I mean, this is a population very declining, you know, normal Japanese people exist here. I said not only fiction, but also non-fiction media, like news documentaries talk about reducing the burden on carers or reducing the labor shortage. And so when I interviewed young people, they also reflect the same reasons why they need AI for the care for elderly people. And for example, 14-year-old boy said that caring is pretty hard work, isn't it? If an AI could do it, I think it would eliminate stress and put a smile on everybody's face. And also, 18-year-old girl said that, I've seen articles in the news and stuff about carers being very tired. So I think if it gets easier and they can afford it, they will be able to think about the person themselves. So those kind of reasons, because not just, you know, we love Doraemon, but also we have serious social issues we have to solve. So therefore, you know, we like to have AI or robots in the care for elderly people or other areas. So, and then from the survey or other in-depth interviews, we created the ethical framework for the smart robot, but I don't have time, so I don't talk about it. And then, so I said that one of the measure is the unemployment. So the survey results also show that And then Yuval Noah Harari, maybe everybody knows him. Yuval Noah Harari talked about the rise of the useless class. And he said that people will have to reinvent themselves again and again. So in response, a human-first AI society must create opportunities for people to reinvent themselves again and again. So finally, I can introduce the concept of self-creation. So this concept, I created my PhD from the London School of Economics. So this concept is people have to reflexively create and recreate themselves, and especially in the AI age, and for their self-actualization. And through interaction with people, other people, but also AI. And in order to maximize new opportunities I talk about, and the minimize risks I already talked about, and we must consider, discuss, and learn smart wisdom in the age of AI. So cultures also recreated through interaction of people. And the Stuart Hall talk about 3 modes of culture globalizations. So one is when a nation or a company dominates the world, so the world become very uniform and less diverse. That is cultural imperialism or cultural homogenization. But against the globalization or resistance and the rise of nationalism, then culture become more diverse, but people, countries or hate each other or fight each other. So if we want to create a sustainable, inclusive, and compassionate human-centered AI future, so we have to have the new cosmopolitan identities that we have to move forward with the interact with or cooperate or create a solidarity and a mutual understanding, and then we work together to solve the global issues. As I said, that if we use a generative AI, we can communicate. Even we can speak the same language. We can easily communicate together. So I think this is we need. So finally, so now we are in 2025, and we are in the edge of chaos. But if we create and recreate ourselves and our community, or even global community, with smart wisdoms, I hope in 2050, human-first AI society will emerge. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Takahashi-sensei. Our next speaker is joining us remotely. He is a visiting scientist at MIT Media Lab and senior visiting researcher at Ritsumeikan University. He is recognized as a leading thinker at the intersection of management, data, workplace, and people. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ben Waber.
All right, hi everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there, but thank you. Hope everyone can hear me okay? Good? Okay. I'm going to assume that everyone can hear me unless someone tells me tells me differently. But again, I'm so sorry I couldn't be there, but it's so nice to be able to again present to everyone. まあそれで今回まあ英語で発表しますけれども、もし不明点があれば日本語でもなんかまあ聞いてもいいと思います。Yeah, so just that's also fine if we want to do that in the Q&A session. Happy to switch to whatever language is most appropriate. So I think it's really nice to follow Takahashi Sensei, especially as she was talking about really the different perspectives people have on what systems we should develop and how we should use those systems. And I think this is really important because my background is actually originally in computer science, and a lot of the ways that we're trained is to optimize systems on a particular outcome metric, right? And we're going to optimize the hell out of it, and we'll get really good at that. One of the problems is, I think we've really become myopic around the kinds of systems that we can create. And we've also flattened the type of sort of diversity in the ways that we could use different, technical systems, right? And one of the problems is that the way that we try to measure the quality of a system. I mean, again, Takahashi Sensei was talking about, for example, systems that assist elderly people, right? Well, there's not one objective way to measure that. Right? What we define as performance, what we define as productivity, it's inherently a subjective metric. Now, again, you could add quantitative metrics to it. It could be somewhat qualitative as well, but there's nothing objective about it, right? These are choices, right? But you're bringing a cultural context to that. You're bringing your personal biases. You're also bringing just the technological affordances that what can you actually measure, right? If all I can measure is how many boxes someone packs, right, and I can't measure anything else about how they work in an office or in a warehouse environment, then that's what I'm going to define as productivity. But that doesn't mean that that is an objective metric, right? It's quantitative, right? But we need to be careful about what we say we're optimizing for. And this is particularly important when we're talking about now AI systems that are entrusted with more and more decisions, and where more and more people are claiming that these systems are, doing things in a compassionate way, for example. And again, just we need to continually remind ourselves that there's not one definition of that. There's many ways to define that, and depending on what our values are, depending on where we're deploying it, we have to think, I think, very, very differently than how we've developed technological systems up to now, right? And actually, one example. So I'm here in Boston right now. A really interesting example here is where I live on the land of originally the Massachusetts people, and they had a farming method called the Three Sisters method. And I don't know if we have any agricultural folks in the audience, but the Three Sisters method, essentially what it was the native people, and actually a lot of North America, would essentially plant fields by combining three crops, corn, beans, and squash, right, on the same land. Okay, and the reason that that's interesting is if you do that, you don't have to leave land fallow. So you don't have to. So if, for example, if I just plant a field of just wheat, again, this is before modern fertilizers, then every 7 years you would have to not plant anything there so the nitrogen could recover in the soil. And it turns out actually with a Three Sisters method, you don't have to do that. Now, what's interesting is that when the European colonists came over to North America, they practiced monoculture, right? So you planted a single field of just one crop. And what they were trying to do is maximize the output of that particular crop per acre, right? And they did. They could actually output more, even when they started doing this with corn, they could output more corn per acre than you could on the Three Sisters method. So one could claim that that is a more productive method, right? But again, there's not an objective metric. That is a choice. If instead I actually measured the calories per acre, if I actually measured even the total economic value of all the crops grown per acre, actually the Three Sisters method was superior until well into the late 1800s. So it's pretty impressive. But again, this idea that our framing, right, determines what we actually optimize for, right? And again, in agricultural systems, these things, change a lot more slowly than they do when we're rolling out a new AI system, which is why it's so much more important. And I'm just going to use a single example for us to try to unpack what this means in the real world, right? The fact that we have many different ethical systems, not just globally and between different countries, but even within single countries, right? I'm sure, down in Kansai, people, are thinking, have different things they'd like to optimize for that, than people up in Kanto and all these things like that. But let's use hiring as an example. And part of my background is around work, so I'm very comfortable talking about this example, right? So there's, I think, a first question that I think Takahashi Sensei did bring up, but I would argue that in most settings we don't even discuss, which is, should we use algorithms in this case, right? Like, is it ethical to use hiring algorithms, right? Typically we skip that and we just say, how can we make a more fair hiring algorithm, right? But that just a lot that ignores this first basic question, which is, is that appropriate? And again, importantly, different people, even within the same culture, will have different responses, and there's not a right answer. Now, again, you have to have a framework for actually making these decisions, and I think lots of organizations, you might. I had a piece in Harvard Business Review, actually last year, with a number of different folks, and we actually examined a few organizations, and if you look at how HP Enterprise does this. I really like that, just as an aside. They don't pay me, so that's not an advertisement, but they do good work. Um, and then there's this next question, right, about what does it even mean to use algorithms or to use AI, right? Because we always say that. We say, like, oh, I'm going to use AI to solve a problem. But, like, okay, most of us know at this point the term AI is just a marketing term. Like, it doesn't really mean anything. It's a whole collection of different, tools, right? And that's fine. But then, if we just say, I'm going to use AI to solve this problem, we're not actually saying what we're doing. We need to be very specific. And then again, we have to apply an ethical lens to that, right? So if I say I want to use a standard, I don't know, linear regression method to predict how someone's going to perform in a job, that's very different than saying I'm going to use a deep learning mechanism to just I'm going to throw in examples of previous folks and then hope it spits out something. Again, I'm not saying one is necessarily right or wrong, but they imply different things, and different values are embedded in which algorithms you use, not just mathematical modeling effectiveness. Right? And there's also this just basic problem when it comes to things like hiring, right? Which is, again, you can think of so many examples that look like this, but there's a problem of just you don't even have data on certain people, right? So hiring is a good example. So let's say I have data for 10 years on everyone that a certain company has hired, but also I have data on all of the applications that have come in, right? Well, the problem is, of course, that the people I didn't hire, I have no idea if they were good or not, right? So even if I could wave a magic wand and make it so that the hiring algorithm I use is ethical in the way that I want, I actually still don't know if I was doing the right thing. It could have been I made tons of mistakes and I don't actually have that data, right? And so it's actually interesting. You might have heard the example on the hiring side of Amazon, who didn't actually release this algorithm, but again, they were contemplating building a hiring algorithm for software developers. And so what they did is they fed in all their all their resumes for people they'd hired into the system. And then it turned out that basically the biggest predictor of who they should hire was whether or not the person had played lacrosse in college, and whether or not the person's name was Jared, right? So, okay, what it's doing? It's selecting white guys. Like, we know what it's doing because people are biased. And, one of the big promises of AI and technology more broadly is to try to reduce those, right? But again, the idea that if we just go into it blindly, right, and we don't think about, like, what do we actually care about? Like, again, I don't think anyone could credibly argue that it's fair to, that playing lacrosse and being named Jared is actually, predictive of your performance, right? That's just predictive of biases that people have, right? And so it's really interesting. One of the best examples of how I've seen companies actually avoid this, or at least give themselves permission to be wrong, right? Which I think is important whenever we design one of these systems, right? Is rather than assuming that data is going to, the distribution of what we're learning, like who's an effective employee or whatever, is going to, because what we do is when we train an algorithm, right, essentially what we say is we're replicating what happened in the past, and that we're tacitly assuming that that's going to continue forever. And so we can admit that, first of all, like, the assumption should be by default that is not going to happen, right? Society, the world, technology changes all the time. And so what JetBlue did was for actually hiring, and to be fair, I don't know if they still use this. This is as of 2016, at least some of the folks I knew there, knew their head of HR, and this is how they did it. But so they developed a assessment, right, that they would run flight attendants through. And it had extremely high predictive power on whether or not that person, if they hired them, would still be with JetBlue 4 years later. Right? And this is important because the rule of thumb when someone leaves a company is that it costs 25% of that person's annual salary to restaff that position, which the U.S. government should probably think about that and what they're doing. But so that's important to know, right? So losing people, bad, right? You lose money in general, in addition to all the tacit knowledge, all this other stuff, right? So one of the things they could have just done is said, all right, we're going to hire 0 people who don't pass this assessment, right? So that we don't lose any of that money. But that's not what they did. What they did is they actually hired 10% of people who didn't pass that assessment. Right? And again, they were essentially giving themselves permission to be wrong. Now, they were still, again, the question is, there is, of course, a question of should it be 10%, 5%, whatever. Again, you can estimate a financial hit of that. But the idea with any of these, systems is you can assume that whatever whatever AI system you deployed is not going to be right, for all time, right, and will change, right? And so they were able to see that, and again, just monitor, like, if it turns out that actually this group is leaving the company at a lot lower rates than we thought, maybe we need to, retool this whole algorithm. And things like that are incredibly important, even after you've made decisions about what sort of things you're going to optimize for, right? Again, the idea that what is ethical, just in general, is highly contextual, and I can actually, tell a story. So you might have guessed, actually, I lived in Japan for a little bit, and I actually worked in a lab of a very large Japanese tech company that shall remain nameless. This is a while ago. It's like 16 years ago, and for the for the American, or let's say for the non-Japanese folks in the room, I mean, hopefully this has changed a little bit after COVID. But coming from the U.S., um, if I was sick and I had a really big project deadline, and I told my boss, you know, I know we've got a big project deadline, but I'm feeling too sick, so I'm not going to be able to finish the project, right? Like I'd be fired. Right? But so in Japan, so I was in this lab. It was a secure facility, right? So I couldn't like do work remotely. All the work I was doing in this lab had to be done on site, right? And the next day, so this one day I'm in the office and I'm starting to feel really sick, right? I clearly have a really bad fever. I'm starting to sweat. I just feel terrible, right? But the next day, I had to give a presentation to the head of the lab, and so I was really just trying to grind through finishing up this deck, right? But then one of my coworkers comes over and he says, "Oh, you got to go home." And I told him, I'm like, "Listen, well, I might need you to give the presentation tomorrow, but I've got to finish the deck, so I'm going to stay here another couple hours, and then we'll see what happens." And he's like, "No, you have to go home." And so they forced me to go home. Right? And the next morning, even though I still wasn't feeling well, I tried to come in at 6 a.m. and they actually wouldn't let me into the building. Right? And again, to be clear, from like a public health perspective, right? What the lab did that I worked at is correct. Like fewer people will get sick if I just stayed at home. Right? But again, that's not like there's other things one could optimize for. Me not being in the office does change the way that my coworkers collaborate. And again, today, and again, in a non-secure environment, it would probably be easier for me to work from home, today. But again, there's not like a right answer to this. Like people are optimizing for different things, right? And those are choices. And what's always important is to not just assume, that initial reaction we have that, oh, of course you go home, or of course you stay in the office. That is not like, it's not, of course. Like, one can question that. Now, again, I'm not saying you do this about every decision all the time, but I think especially when we're designing, AI systems that are, automating processes and then are going to be very challenging, to discern whether we're actually optimizing for the right thing and can have effects that are, hugely negative before we actually realize them. It's that much more important to really gut check a lot of those assumptions, right? And again, this doesn't mean what this means, though, is that it's not saying you don't have, for example, if you're a global company, this doesn't mean you don't have a global ethical framework. And again, I'll highly recommend looking at what HP Enterprise does on this front. But again, the idea that you need, sure, high level guidance that does apply across the company about how we think about things, but then that does need to be adapted to local contexts. And again, of course, you can go down to the level of a single person because everyone ultimately does have different ethical frameworks. But reasonable people could say, okay, do we do it for a region? Do we do it for an industry? Again, but those are decisions and discussions that need to be had before you're starting to deploy things at a large scale. Again, obviously, this is more of a lesson for large organizations. If you're a startup, this isn't something you can do initially, but it is something you realize that if you want to be responsible, right, that is something that is going to have to be done. Right. And of course, another important thing is who's involved in developing these algorithms. And part of that, gets to what do we even consider as the envelope of possible when it comes to what we optimize for, how we build, what we would consider to be ethical systems. Right. And probably the best example that I've seen of this is actually the the organ allocation algorithms in the US. There's a great book by this guy, David Robinson, called Voices in the Code that I would highly recommend that's on this topic. But initially, so there's this question when it comes to allocating kidneys, right? So if someone needs a kidney transplant, right? So if, I die and I'm an organ donor, right? Then, who gets it? Well, one way to do it is you just give it to whoever's closest, but another way is to give it to whoever has the most quality years of life left. And again, there was originally, that's how that was done. But obviously, these things are heavily biased because people who are richer get access to more medical care, which means they live longer. And so, really, you're just making an algorithm to give it to rich people. That doesn't mean that that's like the fairest thing, right? And so, what they've done is create something where these actually the allocation algorithm, it's a public process where you have medical personnel, people in public health, but you also have families of people who who need an organ donation, families of people who gave an organ donation, people currently on the list. It's a whole variety of people. And again, they have a very elaborate process that they developed. I'd highly recommend. Again, it's too long for me to describe in this talk, but I think it's an example of how one can craft groups that do consider a lot of these different perspectives. And again, ultimately, you do have to implement something, but it's important to know what we're not implementing, and they do. And they again periodically revisit this to see like what do we want to do. And again, the idea that these systems, right, aren't like again, the idea that there's a certain data that doesn't exist. This, for example, is a prompt where if you say a Black African doctor helping, hungry white children, it comes up with this pretty much all the time, right? Again, because you know the data that is on the web that have trained a lot of these large models is inherently biased because the world is biased. So again, we have to think about what it means to embed these systems or entrust these systems, blindly with making single decisions, as well as doing other things. And I know I'm running out of time. I want to also mention that mathematically, it's actually impossible to be totally fair at all levels. So this is a problem, right? So for example, if I made an algorithm that hires an equal number of men and women and an equal number of black and white people, it could actually still be maximally unfair when it comes to intersectional groups. And so it puts you into this very difficult situation where actually for a lot of these things you have to choose who you're going to discriminate against, which is pretty bad, right? We can also choose to design systems in different ways. Again, I'll leave. I know I'm running out of time, so I won't belabor this point. There's a great paper by some folks out of Stanford called Jury Learning, which is essentially decomposes late data labelers to enable you to look at how different groups would actually rate something, rather than just outputting a single metric or a single prediction. I encourage people to learn more about human-computer interaction. There's a whole field that's about how do we design interactions. It's not just a text box, because it's unclear to me why we've brought command prompts back. Command lines are terrible. They're terrible interface. But now we brought them back and they're stochastic. Like that's kind of weird. These are random rants, so I'll skip the rants. There's other things we can do. Great project. I'll just very briefly mention. I'm working with Boago Okathung and Taguchi Sensei over at Oceania University on trying to use the labeling capabilities of LLMs to do different sort of things when it comes to defaults with these systems, around hiring. All right, I'll end again. You can sort of tell I've sort of crammed in a few random rants here. One thing I'll say, especially when it comes to ethics, it is important to say people like, well, humans are, they're biased, they're not always ethical, which is true, right? But I think we use very flawed analogies. Like these systems are not humans, right? They're not. We can have a longer discussion about this, right? But it just so let me give an example. So imagine, well, it's funny because actually Microsoft, I guess, a few days ago released a generative AI like spreadsheet tool that's like 50 point something% accurate. But here's the reason I'm bringing this up. So people use words like superhuman all the time, which it doesn't mean anything. Like a knife has superhuman cutting ability, but we don't say that because it doesn't make any sense, right? So people with a high school degree in the U.S. Can make an error in 4-digit addition about 0.7% of the time. Okay, so let's say I can make an AI spreadsheet system that's better than that, right? That only makes an error, let's say it's 0.5% of the time, right? So what that means is that if I gave you a spreadsheet like this, 0.5 of the cells would be randomly wrong, and you don't know which cells, right? It's unusable. It's actually unusable, right? Now, again, that doesn't mean that I would have a person, hand calculate all these different cells. That doesn't make any sense, but use a freaking calculator, right? Like we do have good tools for these things. And so rather than putting everything in a single Omni tool that we need to use it for everything, let's use the right tool for the right thing. All right, that's the end of my rant. Thanks everyone for listening. Sorry for ranting at the end there and running through it, but it was, again, great to at least virtually be there. And yeah, happy to, if we have time, happy to take questions. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to reach out. And happy to chat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ben Weber. We need a week to give everybody, all of our incredible speakers, to just share everything and anything. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll take questions later. We can do it online. We can send it his way. Have a good night in Boston, and see you again soon in Kansai. We
Yep.
are
Thanks, everybody.
quickly taking a 4-minute break. This incredible fireside chat that we are starting right now. So we have our moderator as the co-founder of Gaia Foundation. Gaia stands for Global Artificial Intelligence Alliance, focusing on decentralized, compassion-based AI. Our moderator is Eddie Pyrek. And speaking today with him is the professor of Department of Systems Innovation at Osaka University and visiting director at Advanced Telecommunications Research Institute, specializing in interactive robotics, avatar, and android science. Everybody, please welcome Hiroshi Ishiguro Sensei.
So thank you for giving me these opportunities. Before having the conversation with the moderators, I will introduce myself, right? I'm going to show you a couple of slides. Can I have my slide? Okay, so I'm doing so many things, but basically, I'm working for the avatars. I'm trying to develop the future society that's supported by avatars. So this is my imagination. So I want to create the human avatar symbiotic societies. In Japan, we're going to have a serious problem of labor shortage soon, right? So that we need to solve this problem, right? And one of the possible solutions is to use more robot, more computer graphics agents and avatars. So avatar is not just a teleoperated robot. If avatar can catch the people's intentions, right? So we call it avatars, right? So maybe in the United States, the avatar means the computer graphics agent driven by AIs, but in Japan, our definition is more wide, right? So if the avatar can catch the people's intentions, so that is also the avatars. Okay, so this is my R&D history. Around the 2000s, I have started the new research area in robotics. It's called the human-robot interactions. Okay, after that, I have developed so many robots like this, and well, especially this robot is very famous. I mean, this. Let me show you. This one is my copy. Right. Let me show you the simple demonstration. If you come to my pavilion, you can see that this demonstration. Actually, I'm basically so busy. And sorry, what's that?
Hello. How can I assist you today? I'm eager to discuss topics ranging from robotics and AI to philosophical questions about human nature and society.
Model, right, we can have this
Feel
kind
free
of
to ask anything.
the conversational robots. So this is our futures. Near futures, we're going to have this kind of professors in the university soon, right? So if we deliver this kind of a robot or computer graphics avatars, by using a smartphone, for example, right? So we can deliver the home teachers for everybody, for each student, right? So that is a more better the educational environment. In order to realize that kind of futures, I'm running the big project. It's called the Moonshot, right? In Japanese cabinet has the 10 goals that need to be achieved by 2050s. The first goal is to develop the avatars. So we are trying to realize a society in which people are free from the constraints of body, brain, space, and time, right? So if you are interested in my approach, please download this the open access book. It's called Cybernetic Avatars, right? So you can have a complete information about my project. Okay. Anyway, so we are trying to realize this kind of future societies. So anyone, including the elderly and the people with disabilities, will be able to freely participate in various the activities with abilities beyond ordinary people while expanding their physical, cognitive, and perceptual abilities using a large number of avatars. Anyone will be able to work and study anytime, anywhere, minimize commuting to work, and have plenty of free time. So I hope we're going to change this world by using avatar technologies. So and then my pavilion is also the field. Test field for the avatars. If you come to my pavilion, you're going to see the many avatars, robot avatars and computer graphics avatars. So these avatars are operated by handicapped people, the autism kids and elderlies. So we are trying to develop our futures in our pavilions. So please come to my pavilion. Okay, this is my short introduction. So I think after this we're going to have discussion.
Thank you. Yes, we will start shortly with a fireside chat about the future of life. Eddie, you can come up to the stage, please.
Hello, guys. Sorry, I have no presentation. I have no such amazing things, which is our friend is doing here. I would like to say a few words about our foundation, Gaia Global Artificial Intelligence Alliance. Like 5-6 years ago, together with my friends and with David Hanson, the father of Android, we created Gaia Global Artificial Intelligence Alliance because we come to the conclusion that we don't need only intelligent machine. We need wise machine. We need compassion machine. We need compassion future and compassion world. Last few years, we spent making different kind of the workshop, first trying to understand what does it mean to be compassion, what the compassion mean. After this, we create the report, and 2 years ago in Kyoto, during the IGF, United Nations conference about the future of AI, we present our concept of compassion AI, because we deeply believe that this is what we need. We need a compassion society, which can help us create a compassion machine, compassion AI. What does it mean, compassion AI? Together, just a few minutes before, I discussed with the professor, what does it mean, compassion AI? It's mean, the compassion is, I feel your pain, and I try to do with this. It's more than ethics. It's not than feelings about something bad happen, and this is what we need. We need not only create the machine which will try to help us, but we have to understand that we human, we didn't have enough compassion for ourselves and for the society. In the new world, we need a compassion not only for another human being, we need a compassion for the whole planet. Look, the climate catastrophe, the stuff like this. Why it's happened? Because we didn't have the compassion. We try to use the nature, we try to use different nations, because we want to have more money, we want to have more power. We have to change it, because we are facing the completely paradigm shift. We are facing completely new world. In this world, we have to think about a compassion for the nature, for the planet Earth, and we have to have the compassion for the new species. It's mean for the avatars, for the androids, for the future generation, because we don't know what will happen tomorrow. But we have to be open. We have to have this, again, sorry for repeating all the time the word compassion, but I think maybe one day when we repeat it and repeat it, the more people will understand what does it mean to have the feeling and trying to change the world. When 2 years ago, during the IGF in Kyoto, we present on for the United Nations our concept about compassion AI, I know that a year later in Japan, more and more people started talking about creating compassion AI with what he's doing here. It's thank you very much. It's mean that our work from last 5 years have meaning. And I was very happy that before, on the opening of the expo, we heard from the mouth of Your Majesty that we need a compassion AI. We need a compassion future. Then thank you very much, and now I think it's time to discuss with you about the future of life. Thank you very much. I have the amazing opportunity to see your pavilion and have the long conversation just before this speech. And what I saw there, the future for the life, it's amazing. But again, what do you think? How we can achieve this? How we can create this beautiful future? Because again, I'm afraid that I'm not really afraid of the artificial intelligence. I'm more afraid of the human stupidity. And I'm afraid with the human stupidity, we can really not create this bright future, which I can see in your pavilion.
Yeah.
But disaster. Well, maybe this one, technology.
So yeah, I agree, right? So, but I really think like this. We had the discussions just the coming before, right? So the fundamentally, we cannot separate the human and the technology. The human technology is a way of evolution for the humans, right? Therefore, we need to accept the more technologies. Otherwise, we can, how can I say that? We cannot have evolutions, right? So by using a technology, by accepting a technology, we need to evolve more and more, right? That is our futures, right? So then, of course, we're going to have a chance to have to use the Android AI as a partner, our partners in our societies. Okay, so I think it's time to seriously think about that, right? How we can accept that kind of technologies.
And then it's a question from me to you. Oh yeah, let's. Okay, then we have half of the AI. Then how we can do it? You are creating the robots. You're creating the androids. You are the father of the first humanoid androids, and you know better than me how we can use this technology to create this better world. Because we are not creating the technology. At least from my point of view, I'm not creating the robots of the AI just for the fun creating AI. We are creating because we want to have the better future. And I'm completely agree with you. We need the technology to evolve. The technology it's another step of our evolution. What do you think? How we can do it?
Basically, we need to have a better moral, right? We need to deeply think about our future and the society, and we need to design by ourselves, right? So we have a power to design the human and the human society by ourselves, right? So therefore, through a lot of discussions, I think we need to design our future by ourselves by using the technologies, right? So how do you think?
Yeah, yes, it's funny. Yes, I think we can do it, but again, it's my question to you because you know better. I mean, can you give me the example how you can design the robots, the androids, which will help us to have the more compassion for the humans? Because we can use at least for me, we can use the androids and we can use AI like a mirror, like a feedback loop, to understand better ourselves. Because it can, this is the problem, because the eye couldn't see the eye. The most of the problem which we have, because we don't know who we are. We are not sure who we are. How the AI can help us?
So that is the most important thing. So the robot and AI is a mirror to reflect the humanity. Through the interaction with a very human-like robot, so we can deeply understand the humanities. So we call this research approach is a synthetic approach for understanding the humans. Okay, so I think that is a very, very important, the futures of robots and Android for having them in the societies. But at the same time, so of course, we can improve our life, right? So especially in Japan, right? So we need that kind of a technology for supporting our daily life. Okay, so so that by developing the more better technology, we cannot say that which is better, which is not, right? So by developing the more powerful technologies, so we should deeply understand humanity. That we can enhance the possibility of humans. So that is the human evolution, right? So always, we need to think about the human evolution in some sense.
I deeply believe that we have to have the human in the loop, but I'm afraid that, the most important law of the biology on the physics is don't spend too much energy. And this is why we are lazy. Our brain don't want to change. Our brain don't want to think about different things. We love to be lazy. We want to sit, we don't want to change. And in this case, I am afraid that in the nearest future, when we have a lot of androids, a lot of robots which will help us to do everything, clean the toilet, you know, working for us, we'll become really, really lazy, and we'll be rather like a player one. We'll be sitting, you know, watching video games. You know, again, we have these amazing things. We have the internet. With the one click of the finger, we can have the access to the knowledge on the whole world. And we are watching porn and cats. And I'm afraid it can happen the same with the androids. We'll be using, you know, just sex dolls and cats all around. And it will be the amazing future and amazing next step of evolution.
You know, I don't think a human is so stupid, right? So, you know, that we are more clever, right? So if we have a time, if we have a time, so we can do more, right? You know, if we have a job, so we are so busy and we don't have a time to deeply think about the humanities, right? So the most important question is what human is, what we are, right? So by thinking about that, you know, we can have a next level evolution. So I'm believing so that. The another, well, important things is, I just forget what I want to say that. Anyway, so you know, it's we need to have a more deeper question about humans. So we can have the evolution, so we can be more better. We can have a more better society in some sense, right? So just keep on evolving ourselves, and then, you know, find the possibility of humans. Okay.
Yeah, but I think this is very important what you said, because the question about the technology is not a question about the technology. Question about the technology is a question about the philosophy, about the spirituality.
I just remembered curiosity. The curiosity is quite important for the humans, right? The AI, you know, doesn't have the deep curiosities, right? You know, AI's curiosities are very, very simple. It always try to give us the right answers. But the humans, you know, we have the wide curiosities, right? So that is, you know, one of the fundamental difference between the human and AI, right? But someday the AI may have the curiosity like humans. Then we need to probably we're going to accept the human as a human, as an AI as a human. So, you know, as I said, that we cannot separate the human technologies, right? And someday, so we may accept the AI and robot humans, right? So it's a matter of relationships. But so far, what we can do is, you know, by using the curiosity. Right, by having the curiosities, you know, they have the more better futures, right, as a humans, and then, you know, we may accept an android and robot as the humans. So if we can have human-like relationships with them,
it's mean we need. Before we started creating the new technology, we have to ask ourselves about a philosophical question. We have to ask ourselves the simple question, why we are doing this, why we want to develop the technology. Always the why is more important than what and how. This is the first things which comes to my mind. And second, about the curiosity. Yes, but you know, in Poland we said curiosity killed the cat. And sometimes I have the feelings that with AI we have the situation, I think all the time I'm talking about the cat and porn, I don't know why. But I think we have in situation with AI, we have the situation with the Schrödinger cat. Mm-hmm. We don't know what will happen before we'll develop. It can be death, it can kill us, or it can help us. how we can solve this problem?
So I think it's difficult, but before that, I want to answer to that. Your first question, why? So we need to have a more evolution, right? So now we are in this planet Earth, right? But this is a very the small place, right? So we if we want to survive more, then we need to visit the other planet. We need to enhance our ability more and more, right? So this life form is not final, the status, right? So we may have a totally different humans in the futures, so that can do the many things in the more wider universe, right? So that evolution is the most important, right? Therefore, we are crazy for developing the space technologies, the AI technologies, robot technologies, right? So, so that is the most important things. That is why we need to think about the humanity, human societies. So we are looking for the answer and for becoming the stronger species.
Then we need technology if we want to survive like a human race, yes?
Yeah.
And we need the compassion if we want to survive like a human race. It's mean without the compassion, we'll destroy ourselves, we'll destroy the planet, we'll use AI to kill. Now what's happening with AGI, it's AGI, who will first create AGI will ruin the world. Now this is the AI, it's the biggest weapon. And this is why I'm afraid. And I'm afraid that without the compassion, without the deep understanding that we are not alone, we couldn't survive being alone. You mentioned about the most important is a relation.
Right,
and I think that the basement of the relation, the foundation of the relation is a compassion. And I couldn't understand why we don't understand this. Why we are such assholes.
So we have so many stupid desires, right? We need to be clever, we need to have a more better education for using the powerful AI, powerful technologies, right? That is the human evolution. We need to have both technology and education, right? So we need to educate ourselves for using the powerful technologies and for having the more better evolution.
Yeah, I hope so that we have this kind of the good education and will not destroy ourselves. I think it's coming to the end. Thank you very much, guys, and sorry for keeping too long and talking about too much compassion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pyrek and Ishiguro-sensei. Lots to take away from that. And as I will say it again, I wish we had 1 week to just spend more time with all of our speakers. All right, for our next session, we are going to show a video recording by the Board of Governors at IAF Japan. He pursued graduate studies in physics, focusing on complex systems, quantum mechanics, and phase transitions to explore principles of life. So we're going to show a video of Masato Tahara while we have our quick lunch. We'll start now, and by 1:40, we will be back to continue on with all of our discussions.
Hi, my name is Masato Tahara. I'm the Social Transformation Digital Facilitator. So I'd like to talk about the topics, can I able to co-creation and coexistence across multilingual, multicultural, and multi-faith contexts. So in international dialogue and collaboration, not only language difference, but also cultural nuance and religious background can become barriers to deep understanding and co-creation. With the rapid progress of AI, so new ways to overcome these barriers are emerging. Then, I developed the AI app, GPTs. So this app supports a multilingual world cafe. The key features, you can set the working language at the start. So in this case, I set the Japanese, English, and Chinese. Participants can speak and type in their own language directly. And the app displays language in parallel, so everyone can understand together in real time. So I set the Japanese, English, and Chinese. Then this app shows the three languages at the same time. So I set the background of this World Cafe. Then this app shows the context brief in Japanese, in English, and in Chinese. Then this app generate the three type of question one. So user can choose the one of them. So I choose the question A, 1A. Tell us about a time when you deeply understanding someone across a language barrier. What role did AI play? So in demo, the three users type their own language. The user one type in Japanese, user two type in English, and user three type in Chinese. Then this app summarizes the conversation in Japanese, in English, and in Chinese. Then this app generates the question two, the 5 type of question two. So we choose one of them again. So I choose the question 2D. How should human and AI share the work of bridging the cultural nuance? Then three users talk about this question again. And also this app summary, the conversation. And also this app generates the 4 type of question 3. So I choose the question 3B. If your context, where could you try the human warmth AI breath model? Then the user talk about this question again. So AI summary again. After the World Cafe, this app analyzes the 3 questions of the conversation. Then the app creates a harvest question. For example, what insights matter most now? So this kind of app enables the multilingual conversation, and also we can share the idea at the same time. Then this kind of the AI app so can enable the overcome the language barrier. Then as the digital facilitator, I feel the big possibility to talk across the cultural language and some many kind of the difference barrier. Thank you very much.
I would like to introduce our next speaker. He is a visionary architect of co-flourishing futures where nature, humanity, and AI thrive together. A founding member of AI and Compassion Alliance and Global Forum, He has guided Fortune 500 companies for 30 plus years toward breakthrough growth. A 2016 X Prize Visioneer and winner of Singularity University's 2018 Global Impact Challenge, he produced the groundbreaking $10 million Avatar X Prize. He serves as a member of the Medical Intelligence and Innovation Institute and an AI Med Asia's advisory board, advancing compassionate AI applications for planetary well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, the magical Jun Suto.
Well, thank you for great intro. I don't know if I deserve that, but anyhow, welcome to afternoon session, I guess, after lunch, right? So, if you look at the agenda, which you don't remember, right? This is a workshop, but we are not going to workshop. By the way, we had a pre-workshop a few days ago. How many people attended? All right, come up, help me out. We are co-creating, so we want to co-create, right? Nadia, you are in the room. So, welcome, Nadia. So we are buddies now, right? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about that? So why we're here?
Okay, like I attended like one of the workshop was on Tuesday?
Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe?
Was Tuesday. It was
Yes.
Tuesday. So they try to just like learning about the vision about this forum, and then they said like about like nature, like how it just like connected with nature, humanities, like even the technology, just as like we are moving through the technology together, and then they even said they explained it for us like Japanese concept they use like as wa and ma.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What's wa?
Well, like, as I remember, it's just about like harmony, like you just like a word just stands for like peace. As like a human being, we just like always looking forward for peace every time. And then you just like having a peace without like a unity among each other, because you cannot have peace without like a unity with like people surround you.
Yes. And how about ma? Remember?
Oh.
Ma is space between, time between, that you want to have that to have a moment to reflect, right? Everything's running, high speed, right? But you have to stay still sometime and observe that. And if you're not talking about the ma, space between, time between, if you talk about ecosystems, there's a thing called the ecotone, which is in between one ecosystem and another. When ecotone dies, both ecosystem dies, right? So in between is very important. So those two concepts that we developed on our vision, because it is very important to have that moment, to have that connection as a wa. And we are surrounded by big ring. That's another meaning of wa. It's a ring, connection. That's why we are doing this global relay. We don't stop here. We just start here. And then pass on to India, Dubai, Cairo, and Latin America, North America, and Australia, and then coming back to Kyoto, right? So we want you to embrace this concept, beautiful Japanese concept, right? As you listen, right? As you learn, as you engage. And we don't have another one here, but there's a beautiful concept called wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is art of imperfection. Ability for you to appreciate imperfection. I feel that's very important for you to be compassionate, humble, right? To accept others. That's what you have to appreciate, right? It's a beauty. So let's sort of sink in that as we go into afternoon. And some of you may follow the sun 24-hour relay sessions because there are more to come. Okay, I don't know what we have. No. And this is something that we didn't talk about in the morning. Do you remember this? No idea. Or do you want to call up on somebody else who are there?
Mickey?
Hey, Mickey, come on. So we're going to talk about the 6 pillars. So pick one or two. Start with that.
Then
You can grab that.
this one? Okay, then trust, transparency, and accountability.
Yeah. What is that?
What is that?
Why is it important?
What is important? I don't know. For example, with the advancement of AI, it's really hard for us to think what is real and what is fake, right? And like what of the speakers were telling us, that when there's so many fake images, fake videos, it's really hard to trust a news or trust if this post is real or not. And like when I was in the session pre-workshop, there was a question that came up, like how can we gain trust? And to the answer for it, our group thought that we needed to gain trust in this advancement of AI. We thought like face-to-face communication will be more important because, for example, in Zoom meetings or conferences, like the person in front of you might be a fake person, or like you might be contracting with a fake person, and that's not a good thing. So maybe in important political decision makings or in important business contracts, like face-to-face communication might be a tool to gain trust and to really make sure that this isn't fake. And I feel like as AI begins to develop, we need to really think about how to maintain this trustable relationship. And yeah, I don't know the answer to it as well, but
I was in the group with Mr. Jun. Then we just said like you can just gain trust and transparency through like your small action to the people. Like small, you don't have to do big things like just to show like, oh, this person trusts you because of your big actions. Through your small action you're gonna do through your life, you're gonna just say people say come to you like you're so kind, like in this way. But like, and also we just also discussed like how you're gonna just like you need to be like truly who you are, like even if there's no one who just looking like besides like who's just checking on you, just like monitoring on you, you're always just like to try to do what is how you have to do, even if there's no one who is looking after you. And then yeah, like as people we need to just like to gain trust, like to just to do through our small actions we can just gain trust, and even being like other people around ourselves gonna just help us just like to develop, to grow our trust as we grow up. Because yeah, we grow up trusting our parents, but as you grow up changing the environment, just like, oh, even though my mom just is my parent, like is my mom, I'm no longer trusting my mom because of like through your like environment you have been surrounded by, like how they like destroy your trust. But like through the small action, still you have trust for someone else. Thank you.
So you can see how it is, you know, if you go through workshop, you're activated. So those are very activated on this topic and engaged. And what this 6 pillar represent is that if we talk AI and compassion, right? And we listened to the speaker's talk this morning, wide variety of it, right? It's hard to see what it is. So we are sort of dissecting into 6 pillars so that we can see it better and talk. And also, it's not division. those pillars interact each other. So, harmony across system, we have to have harmony in 3 domains that we are looking at: nature, humanity, and technology, right? How we could use AI to make it happen, or how we create AI to do that, right? And Ma in innovation, we talked about Ma, right? How important it is to reflect, and how we could infuse that into AI or AI development, right? All those, and I guess you can see other cultural wisdom, global equity. And there was one speaker, or 2 speakers, I think, talked about that this morning, right? How we need to harness those. Otherwise, you may not regain that. Or maybe AI could regain what's being lost, and that's happening too. So very important. And environment, people talk about AI sucking up all the energies, it's disruptive, but how we can make it more regenerative. And there's a speaker this afternoon too, talk about that too. And education for co-flourishing. I don't know if we have speaker for this today for this venue, but education is very fundamental, right? And how you teach yourself, how you nurture yourself, how you nurture AI, right? How you nurture, or how you are nurtured by nature, right? All that, you have to think about it, right? So this is more of, okay, you have 6 things that you can associate with. So as you listen and engage, just think of those, right? So that it will be easier for you to process. And there are a lot of questions and so forth. You don't have to, okay, this actually, if you take this and go to, this takes you to mirror board. And there are a lot of prompts you can engage. Earlier question about what is compassion mean to you, I guess. And those questions, we talk about a lot of compassion. It's not one, right? What does it mean to you? Let's start with that, right? So all those gonna be in there, so you can engage as you go on, listen. Just don't listen, right? In there, there's a post-it sticky that you can get engaged. And that goes to the people who are listening online. You can do it, and you can engage in there. That was fun, right? When you were in workshops. So I'll stop there. We're not going to do any workshop, but you can see those, intro, where you're about, I guess, about you, where you're from, so forth. And so you can see some of the things that you can do it. And we are planning post-workshop too on October 12th. And that will be shared with you as for the information. But I'll just stop, and you can do this as you listen. And it's not limited to the prompts, because board is board. And what's important is that this is conversation that we are having. This is the action we are taking, right? So rather than listen, if you find the time, if you have some keywords or something that pops on your head, just write it down, put it in the board, so that people can see it, inspired, right? Or talk about it. So thank you, Mickey and Nadia. Hey, big round of applause. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, June. I love the question that you posted. What does compassion mean to you? There's a lot of discussion about that. And we may not be able to align with one meaning, and I think that's what makes it special.